Hooday, Bengal fans! That's right, he is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our victorious Cincinnati Bengals. 10 in a row, Maan. 10 in a row. What a great night of Bengals football. I tell you, I'm a little emotional still. The game just ended about 5 or 10 minutes ago. We had our celebratory ice cream cake.
Not on camera.
Not on camera. But man, oh man, we got so much to talk about, Maan. So much to talk about. So much to dive into. This was really, I think, what we expected happening a couple weeks ago on that Monday night. I think you saw that this Bengals football team is just the better team. Joe Burrow is a better quarterback. It just is. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. You know, I know Buffalo has been through a lot, but they had every advantage they could possibly have going into this football game. And the Bengals still fought through all of that and came out not just with a win, Maan, but with a serious butt whooping.
Jake, there's been so many huge wins the last 2 years for this Cincinnati Bengal team. This one was one of the most satisfying and dominating wins. Absolutely amazing. And you know what? I'm convinced Tony Romo watches the Bengals Pulse, and I'll tell you why. Last week, in the last couple episodes, we talked about the national media. If the Bengals go into Buffalo, they go into Kansas City, and they find themselves in the Super Bowl, it's always, well, the Cincinnati Bengals, but the Cincinnati Bengals, but you can't do that anymore. Tony Romo didn't exactly use those words, but that's what he was saying about 2 minutes left in the game. He goes, guys, the Bengals are a juggernaut. You know, you always talk about the Bengals and you say, but this, but that. Guess what? You can't do that anymore.
No, you cannot.
Listen, huge win. I can't stop. I got 50,000 things going in my head. This is going to be the first ever 2-hour show of the Bengals Pulse. Thank you. And honestly, 10 weeks ago, we had the hardest remaining schedule in football,
it's
and
crazy,
the Ravens
man.
are supposed to win the division by 6 games.
It's crazy.
Look what happened.
Crazy.
I mean, man, oh, God, Jake, take over, man.
Okay, listen, Maan, we're going to get to the stats and stuff in just a second, but I want to go off what you said just a couple seconds ago here. Is the national media and everything else that we've talked about on the show for weeks now, they have done everything they can, the majority of them. Now, we've had a couple that have been on our bandwagon, but the majority of them have done everything they can to twist and turn all of the success that the Bengals have had these last 2 years. They go in to the media darling. And again, I'm not saying anything negative to the Buffalo Bill fans. I'm just talking about the media right now. The media darlings, Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, who, again, I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's done some great things. But once again, he just does not win the big game. And again, a lot of that goes to Lou Anarumo and that Bengals defense, obviously. But my point is, Maan, is that this Buffalo Bills team has gotten all this hype. And once again, the Bengals and the Chiefs are the two remaining teams left standing in the AFC. And again, that's nothing against the Buffalo Bill fans, because I had a buddy there at the game tonight, a Bengals season ticket holder who's one of my friends, and he texted me right as the game was ending. He texted me how great the Buffalo Bill fans were to the Bengal fans, and again, I think we share that same respect with them. So there's no disrespect there. I think the Bills are a great football team, and I think the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals are going to be doing this every single year.
Yeah.
But right now, the Bengals are just a step ahead of everyone else. They just are. Whether it's Joe Burrow, whether it's the defense today, we're going to talk about them, but how great they played and how great they play on the road. Maan, again, you know, it's unbelievable the stretch of games the Bengals have had. And they've run the table these last 10 games. It's unbelievable. And I don't think the media talks as much about it as they should, because what the Bengals have done is played the toughest schedule and ran the table the last 10 games.
We don't need the national media. You need the Bengals Pulse. If you want Bengal info and opinion, you come to us.
That's right.
Now, listen, Josh Allen is a warrior. He's going to be one of the best players in football for years to come. He's going to get his day. Buffalo, great fan base, great team. Listen, the Bengals were just a better team today. Jake, what surprised me the most, we dominated both line of scrimmages today.
That surprised me
Our
too.
defensive line, we knew they had solid players. That didn't surprise me as much. But that offensive line, Jackson Carman,
First start at left
Max
tackle.
Sharping. Listen, hats off to that offensive line coach, Frank Pollock. Listen, it's only one game. Carman looked more comfortable. That's what he played. Started 2 years at Clemson, major college football. Maybe that's going to be his spot. But that offensive line, 172 yards rushing by the Bengals. What have we said the last 2 weeks on the Bengals Pulse?
That's right.
We've got to rediscover that run game. 2.8 yards per carry wasn't going to cut it. Well, guess what? If the Bengals keep on running this way, one game at a time, but we could have a special trophy at Paul Paycor Stadium. That's it. It's one game at a time. But if we keep on running the ball that way, look out.
And I'm going to go a step further with this offensive line because they were definitely the MVP of this game, I think. I mean, again, you talked about it. Both sides of the ball dominated the front, which, that was easy to see from the get-go. But this Bengals offensive line, Maan, not only did we run the ball for 172 yards, Joe Burrow was only pressured 8 times in 36 dropbacks and only sacked once for a 2-yard loss. And that to me is much more impressive than running the ball for 172 yards. You got a left tackle, Joe Burrow's blind side, making his first NFL start on the road in the divisional round of the playoffs in the snow against the media darling. And I'm going to tell you right now, dude, Jackson Carman is going to be a great football player if they keep him at left tackle because he was dominating today. Maan, he was blocking guys 15 yards downfield and pancaking them. I mean, destroying people in the run game.
Jake, he was. And listen, I wouldn't be surprised after the season's over. There's going to be some reflection. Some of the reporters that cover the Bengals are probably going to find this out. Carman has to – he's been practicing at tackle for weeks.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, listen, you read that somewhere, right?
And I didn't read it, but I'm telling you right now, I mean, I know he practices all the spots, but the guy played at Clemson, major college football, protecting Trevor Lawrence for 2 years. Listen, let this guy grow and mature. He looked really good today. Listen, Adeniji Poland was killing people. Max Sharping was playing well. Listen, hats off to Duke Tobin, Zach Taylor. We have quality depth. I mean, bringing in a guy like Sharping, 33 career starts in the NFL and 3 playoff starts. I mean, come on, man. That was a brilliant move by that front office to do that. And listen, it paid off today, guys. I got to say something. Last year when we left SoFi Stadium, that feeling,
it was horrible.
My son Luke was with us, and we were really just miserable.
It was horrible.
Horrible loss. Mm-hmm. And I was just doing some reflecting, and I'm like, man, it is so hard to get to a Super Bowl. It is so hard. Listen, man, the Bengals are 1 game away. It's going to be tough next week. I'm not trying to jump ahead. I can't wrap my head around it. We are 1 game away from a Super Bowl. And that feeling we had walking out of SoFi, it was just a numb feeling, and I can't believe we're that close. All right, man, 1 game at a time. Let's just
let's talk about
it.
And let's talk about Ted Karras too, real quick, because you mentioned all the other offensive line guys. Ted Karras got knee buckled underneath him. He braced it up and finished the entire second half. What a warrior! That is the true meaning of a captain. That is why he was a captain as a first-year Bengal. Hopefully Ted Karras is okay. Maan and I, again, we're not seeing anything right now that's going on afterwards, but please comment and let us know what's going on with Ted Karras because hopefully he's okay.
Yes.
And he can go next week. And listen, I really don't think we saw before the game Alex Kappa in the building walking around with a boot on. Maan, he's putting pressure on that foot. I tell you what, man, they get Alex Kappa back next week. Whoo, oh man. This offensive line gets healthy before these last 2 games. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We're listen. Let's go over the stats for this game. We'll get into Kansas City later in the week. It's going to be rabid out there. But man, honestly, I know we're taping this right now. I swear to you, man, I'm borderline lightheaded. I just can't believe all the stuff
I'm
that's
like
going on.
that.
There's like 50 million things I want to talk about right now. And honestly, Ace and Zim will kill us because we'll be 3 hours. So, go ahead, Jake.
All right, let's get into it. Joe Burrow, another solid performance. I mean, what else can you say? 23 of 36, 242, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, sacked 1 time. But Mon, I mean, the guy is just a surgeon. He is so good. He's so good, Mon. And again, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've been saying for 2 years he's the best quarterback in the NFL. This guy is just unstoppable. He's just unreal, man. He goes into this just extremely tough environment to play in Buffalo, and the crowd is silent after the first 15 minutes of the game because they could see what we already know, and that is it's going to be a long day because Joe Burrow is just that good. And how about what he said after the game? You and I we watched it like 4 or 5 times when the reporter asked him, "Hey, all this stuff going on this week. They've already sold 50,000 tickets to Atlanta for the AFC." And Joe Burrow just says, "I guess they better get their refunds ready."
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is just incredible. We are so lucky to have him. And, we'll talk about all that later. But in a couple months, Mon, he's going to be a Bengal for a long time.
I just want to say one more thing. I just harped on it a few minutes ago. If you have a recording of the game, go back to the last 5 minutes. Tony Romo just had this. I guess it finally hit him that these guys are actually a good team, and it was amazing. I mean, it was I don't know, it was beautiful to hear.
Well, let's talk about this rush game because Joe Mixon 20 carries, 105 yards and a touchdown, but it just seemed only 105 yards, Mom, but it just seemed dominating. I mean. And then Samaje P. Ryan, let's not forget him because that run he had, that last possession was just that was a grown man run for 8 yards to get that first down, run some more time off the clock. Samaje finished 7 carries for 33 yards. Joe Burrow 6 for 31. I mean, but let's go back to Joe Mixon because that run when he got off tackle and lowered, he kind of squeezed through that run fit, got off tackle, and lowered his shoulder for an 8-yard gain. I yelled out, "That's the old Joe," because that is the old Joe. And I think that's why we have harped on so much about this Bengals run game getting going, because when Joe Mixon is feeling it, he is a different running back. When he is feeling it and he knows that the run fits are there, he is a different running back. And we saw that tonight, Mom.
Jake, if the Bengals run the football consistently like this, it's over. It's done.
It's over. I agree.
And listen, the last 4 weeks, they've really struggled under 3 yards per carry. Today was that was the difference maker. You could tell Buffalo's like, oh, crap.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And they were just muscling those guys. And listen, that offensive line was dominating. And, we talked about Jonah Williams.
It's just hard to even wrap your mind around that, right?
I think Jackson Carman's 25, 30 pounds heavier than Williams. That helps. And Sharping is a big man, too. Total road graders. Man. And, if we get some of that next week, I know, look out.
And they did a lot of GT pulling, too, with Sharping and Adeniji. And you talked about it with that guard tackle pull. Yeah. Adeniji, in the run game, I think we've always thought that Adeniji he's tough in the run game. It's the pass game that he struggles. But I tell you what, when you pull that tackle and give him some space to work in, you could tell he was different. He was different tonight as well. And they did some of that GT pulling. That's how Joe got that off tackle stuff there. But I tell you what, man, it just impressive. Let's look at the receivers because once again, Joe Burrow, he just throws it around. I mean, he goes to the open, he finds the open guy. He's just so good, man. Jamar Chase, 5 catches. Hayden Hurst, 5 catches. Samaje P. Ryan, 5 catches. T. Higgins, 3 catches. Tyler Boyd only had that 1 catch, but a big one, that 23-yard gain. But Jamar Chase, 61 yards. Hayden Hurst, 59. Samaje, 31. T. Higgins, 28. Tyler, 23. Joe Mixon, 18. Trent Irwin, that big catch. Also had a big drop, but a big catch by you, Trenton, for 13 yards. Jamar with a touchdown. Should have had 2. Mon, I'm telling you, when the season's over, there's 2 things that somebody's got to explain to me. One, what is a fumble from the quarterback? Because the NFL is so inconsistent on that call. That was a fumble, just like the Mac Jones play was a fumble weeks ago. You can't tell me otherwise. The ball is coming loose before the hand goes forward. How is that not a fumble? It makes no sense. There's no consistency. And then the Jamar Chase play that was called not a touchdown, he's got both feet down with control of the ball. When he hits the ground, the ball bounces up, but it never touched the ground. I don't understand. Somebody's going to have to explain to me what is a fumble by the quarterback and what is a completed touchdown catch, because the NFL is just so inconsistent with that.
You know what, Jake? With those bang plays, like we talked about past episodes, they usually stick with the ruling on the field.
Not with the Bengals.
They called it a fumble.
And they called it a touchdown.
And out of all those others, I thought that was the easiest one. Listen, the guy's hand was not moving forward. Okay. And you know what? I don't know. It's a silly rule. The touchdown
it makes some sense.
The touchdown with Chase, non-touchdown. If that ball was caught at the 20 and he did that, it's a catch. Okay. But since he was out of the end zone, he resets the feet. It's a silly rule. Listen, if you have possession and you cross the plane, it's a touchdown. If you have possession 2 feet down in the end zone, it should be a touchdown. But it didn't affect the game. It is what it is. Listen, we should have had 35, maybe 40 points on him.
Crazy,
but,
right?
I'll take 20. I'll take a 17-point win.
All right. Okay, let's talk about the defense real quick, because really, besides the offensive line, the defense were the stars of this football game, right? We talked about how good Joe Burrow was. We talked about all that. Joe Burrow, I mean, again, we're going to win a lot of games with Joe Burrow. But this defense and what Lou Anarumo did today is so impressive, Maan. I'm going to go to the defense stats first, and then we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills stats, because that's really the key to this game. Not ours, but the Buffalo Bills. Mike Hilton, 8 tackles. Man, the second half of this game Lou sent Mike on those nickel corner blitzes. Dude, he was absolutely so disruptive. Josh Allen had no idea what was going on. So Mike Hilton, a huge second half of that game. Logan Wilson, 7 tackles. Cam Taylor-Britt, dude, I'm going to tell you what. We talked about it earlier. This guy's going to be a baller. He is not getting the credit he deserves as being one of the best picks in that first round. He's really not. I mean, not first round, just second round. But in the draft, he is not getting enough credit because that dude has played really good football. Had his first interception too, so congratulations, CTB, on that. Cam Taylor-Britt with his 6 tackles. Von Bell with 6. Von Bell also had a sack. Eli Apple with 6 tackles. Jermaine Pratt, Jesse Bates each with 5. Again, the Bengals, they only sacked Josh Allen one time, and it was a little frustrating because the tackling wasn't great. I will tell you a lot of that when snow starts to settle on the ground, it's really hard to get your feet if you're moving in one direction at a speed. So you could tell some of the Bengal players were kind of, a little off balance there, but really we should have had him 6 or 7 times sacked. Yeah. But a lot of pressure, which was good. But again, it's just to me, Mon, this was all 3 phases of the game, just playing great team football. Hines was basically beat the Dolphins by himself last week, and the Bengals literally shut him down. They stayed in their lanes on kickoff, and those are things that get overlooked in football games. But special teams is such a huge part of it. That's why every week on this show, I'm always making sure I talk about special teams. Evan, 2 for 2 field goals, 3 for 3 extra points. We see the old Evan once again in the playoffs. He has come back. Drew Chrisman again. That punt at the end of the game, to put him inside the 10-yard line, that was huge.
It was big.
That was huge. I mean, those are plays that get overlooked, but those are game-changing plays. Those are game-sealing plays. So great job, Drew. But Mon, what I really want to talk about is the Buffalo Bills offense and how this Bengals defense completely shut them down. Buffalo 19 carries for 63 yards. But remember, Mon, about 20-something of those yards came on that very last drive when the Bengals are in nickel defense.
Let me stop you 1 second.
Yeah.
Don't forget, the Buffalo Bills had the number 2 rated scoring offense
Yes.
in the NFL.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay. Thank you. So 19 carries for 63 yards, but really, like I said, 20 something of those yards came on that last drive when the Bengals are in nickel. They're playing off man. I mean, you're going to get yards that way.
Yeah.
So we'll say Buffalo had 40 yards rushing on about, I don't know, let's go 16 carries, 40 yards. Josh Allen, 25 of 42, 265. He had the pick at the end of the game. He was sacked once. But again, he just looked off, right? I mean, he looked off, and
it's Lou Anarumo.
It is. It's Lou Anarumo.
He was confused. Even Romo and Nance were saying that he wasn't used to seeing these fronts. He was having a hard time processing it.
You know what I love, Mom? This is what I love, is that Buffalo's 2 leading tacklers are those 2 linebackers, Edmonds and Milano. Those guys are good football players. But that also tells me that we are running the football well, right? When you see linebackers getting 12 and 10 tackles, that's because the Bengals are getting to the second level of football. Most of the time, right? Unless the backers are blitzing, most of the time the Bengals are getting to the second level. And we saw this offensive line for Cincinnati get to that second level numerous times, blocking guys 10 yards downfield. Again, just an impressive performance by the Bengals. So Buffalo finishes with 368 yards. No, sorry, 328 yards total offense, 328 yards total offense, Mon. And 50 of that came in the last drive. Yeah. I mean, they were under 300 yards for the game, really, because we're not going to talk about that trash stuff they got at the end. If I would have told you before kickoff that the Bengals would hold Buffalo to under 300 total yards, you would say I was crazy.
Yeah, I still think you are, Tom.
I am. That's because I am.
Now, I'll say this. 27-10 doesn't really do it justice. It really wasn't that close.
It wasn't.
And I'm not trying to be a smart butt or anything like that.
No, but you're right.
It really wasn't that close. The Bengals dominated the line of scrimmage. You know what else I love today? They played jumbo package. Deontay Smith was in there just destroying people. Yeah. He was coming in playing that big tight end spot. Man, I tell you what, this is one of the most dominating Bengal wins over the last 2 years. It really is. And we've had a lot of wins. Sorry. We've had a lot of wins over the last 2 years. And this is one of the most gratifying for me. It really is. And
well, we laugh because, I didn't know what to do with myself because I'm so used to here for the playoff games going out in the front yard where the tree is and watching the last 5 minutes so we could close out the game. I didn't feel right. I was standing in your living room with 4 minutes left, and it just didn't feel right. I did go out. One time for that second to last possession when they went for it on 4th down.
And listen to what I told him when he went out. He had my official NFL football in his hand. I said, "Jake, don't throw that at my window. If something bad happens." I got to give a shout out to my wife, Heather. I was a wreck today at the house, and I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. Something's not right. And she goes, "You've got to believe. Stop that. You stop that." And, she's right. She's right. She's the best optimist. She really is. And that's why Ted Lasso is behind us right now. All right. Shout out to Heather, my wife.
Well, and I'm going to shout out to mine too while you're doing that, just so I don't look bad. No, I'm just kidding. But my wife, Angela, I'll tell you, I'm here watching most of the games when I'm not at the games. I'm here at your house, and I can always expect a text from my wife, and she texts the same thing, believe. Right. When I start losing that, oh God, the wheels are coming off, my wife will text me, believe.
They're texting each other probably.
They're probably texting each other. Like, these two guys are morons and lunatics. But I will tell you that our wives definitely, to put up with you and I, they should get a medal or something, because you and I were both wrecks today. But again, you and I kind of looked at each other after we went up 14-0, like, man, this might be a different day. And you could tell right away that this Bengals team they were just so focused. They were so ready to play football. And I don't think you can give this coaching staff enough credit.
No.
Going on the road, to go into Buffalo and deal with all of the stuff going on, right? The AFC Championship stuff, the Damar Hamlin stuff, and once again, I will say this, man, I was very happy to see Damar Hamlin.
That was great.
Being at the stadium, that is just Man, that's good stuff. And DeMar, we're still praying for you, man. Get back on the field, DeMar. But, all that stuff going on, Mon, and this Bengal team doesn't even blink. It didn't even blink today. They just went out and dominated the Buffalo Bills, and nobody thought that the Bengals were going to be in this game. It's crazy.
I mean, us Bengal fans know this. Our listeners know this. They have quietly built an elite NFL coaching staff. We talk about Lou Anarumo. We talk about Callahan. We know Taylor, of course, the head coach. But they got Dan Pitcher. They got Marion Hobby. They got so many stud coaches on that defense, on that coaching staff.
Yeah.
Listen, that touchdown pass to Hurst. They showed the replay. Chase was out there. Milano and the quarterback, they all jumped to Chase thinking it's going to him. What a play design. And, Burrow knew it was going to happen. And Hurst is wide open for that easy touchdown.
Well, I will tell you this. I call that play fire butt, and I run it quite a bit. And it's funny because last week the Bengals ran it. This week the Bengals ran it again and got big plays on both times they ran it. So my players that play for me are all texting me, fire butt, coach, fire butt, coach. It's a great play, especially when you set it up, throwing those screens, throwing the screen, and then getting those guys to cheat up. And when you got a guy like Jamar Chase, I mean, he's a scary guy. You don't want the ball in his hands, and they worked it to perfection. That's 2 weeks in a row they've run fire butt and gotten big plays from it. Not saying that they took it from me, but I have been running that for a long time.
I just got to share this with everybody. See this white shirt I'm wearing? I've worn this twice for Bengal games. The first time they scored 42 points. Today they scored 27. This is the official attire every Sunday.
You're wearing that for the next 3 weeks.
Exactly. This shirt, it's probably not going to get laundered. It's just going to be, I love it. It's my lucky shirt on the Kansas City.
Well, hang on. Before we move on to Kansas City, let me say that today was the first day of the old school. Where's that? The old school Zubaz pants, baby. I broke them out today for the first time. 1-0 with the Zubazes. My wife hates them, but they're 1-0, babe. So I'll be wearing them for the next 3 weeks.
So do I.
Well, I had these. Okay. I had the same pair when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and when I saw them in the pro shop, I'm like, oh my god! I had Bengals Zubazes when I was 8 years old. I got to get them again. So let's real quick, Mom, before we get out of here, let's talk about some of the team stats real quick. Bengals time of possession, almost 8 minutes. Almost 8 minutes time of possession where they were in the positive, right?
Yes.
I'm reading that right.
Let's go down some. Go down. Let me see. Yeah, you're right. 8 minutes.
8 minutes time possession, which, again, on the road is huge. I mean, 2 of those Bengal drives were at least 6 or 7 minutes long. Those are just killers. No matter where, if you're on the road or at home, I mean, those are just huge. Bengals 30 first downs, Buffalo Bills only 18. Total plays, the Bengals run 71, Buffalo 62. But again, like I said, let's go back. The total yards, 412 for the Bengals, 325 for the Bills. And 60 of those yards came on that last drive for the Bills with 1:30 left. Again, man, Lou Dini, you are the dude. You are the dude, man. I don't know what we would do without Lou.
Domination. I want to hark back on something you were talking about, the field conditions. I think both teams are really hesitant a little bit, and they're worried about that. But obviously, the Bengals managed it better than the Bills. And man, Jake, I'm telling you, man, I just don't know. We're recording the show now. What an impressive win! Honestly, I mean, I feel comfortable saying it's one of the biggest wins, one of the most dominating Bengal wins against an elite team. The Bills won 13 games. They won 13
and didn't
games.
They win? Haven't they won like 8 or 9 in a row? Like
and
us. They've won like eight or 9 in a row, I think.
Is that 10 wins in a row for us?
That's 10 for us. But I think the Bills going into this game had won 8 or 9 in a row.
I mean, one of the most dominant wins in the last 10 years for the Bengals.
I'll agree 100%. This is the last stat I'm going to throw out here because these stats are so impressive. You talked about the Bills being second in points, right? Yeah. Second in scoring. Today, the Buffalo Bills, 1 of 3 in the red zone. 1 of 3 in the red zone.
Wow.
Again, and one more crazy one. The penalties today. The Bengals, 2 penalties for 9 yards. The Buffalo Bills, 8 for 60. Just again, going on the road and being disciplined like that, it's just so impressive. I mean, again, this coaching staff is unreal.
There's so much. Before the game, they're talking about Carl Cheffers. The Bills are 9-0 against him when he refs, and the Bengals are 4-8, and he throws all these flags. None of that materialized. All these conspiracy theory things out there.
Well, I'll tell you though, when they didn't call Jamar's a touchdown,
I understand.
When they reversed that Jamar touchdown catch, I was like, oh no, let's not start that nonsense.
Even the national media guys were going off on Twitter.
That was bad.
All right, okay.
Are you?
I want to go watch the other game.
You need to decompress a little bit. Let's get out of here. Hey, listen, Kansas City, we're coming for you again, baby. We're coming for you again. It's the game we saw it. It's at 6:30, right? 6:30 on Sunday. We are the second game next week for the Lamar Hunt Trophy. 2 years in a row.
Come here, Eric.
Let's get this thing going. Oh, hey, we got some visitors.
Bengals Pulse! Let's go! Hooray! We're coming back to the championship!
What's up,
Eric, Austin? Hey, guys, thanks for stopping by.
There's season ticket holders, too.
Yes. Our guys, Eric and Austin, thank you guys for stopping by. That's awesome, man. It's good to see you guys. We were just telling them, man, we got to decompress, right, guys? I mean, we got to decompress right now because that was just an incredible performance, dominating performance. But let's get out of here. Kansas City, you are now on the clock. You are on watch, baby. We are coming for you. Hey, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, all the awesome podcast platforms. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9 and on Instagram the same without the @ Bengals_Pulse9. And once again, if you like this podcast, make sure that you give us that 5-star review. We very much appreciate it. Check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. He is Maan. I am Jake. That is Austin. That is Eric. This is the Bengals Pulse. We will see you we'll see you on Friday. See you on Friday. Hoo-day, Bengal fans.
See you.